this mental wellness is become such an issue. We never knew about it. We had to struggle. You got to work. You can't scold somebody. You can't do anything. Let them grow up like how we all grew up. Because we are in the process, we are not making them strong.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Clarity Amidst Clutter. This is CNN News 18's podcast, and I'm the host, Riya Kundu, here with a very special guest today. And without much ado, we have with us Ashwini Nachappa. Thank you so much for joining us. And she is a former Indian athlete and Olympian. She was in the track and field regime of it. And well, she also is the founder of Ashwini Sports Foundation and quite a stalwart in her field, quite an icon in her field. And great talking to you, great having this opportunity talking to you today. And what we're going to discuss today is the fact that women have been performing so well. The trend line has been going up where more women sports people can be seen, sports person can be seen in the field. How they're coming out, they are acquiring that esteemed space in this particular field. Why has this shift been taking place? Of course, it's a much needed shift. Sports men mainly used to be considered to be a male dominated field in India. But then again, role models like you have always been people who women have looked forward to, looked up to, so that they can also dream big. And at this juncture in 2023, with their performances in Asian Games, what we saw is those dreams were getting realized, those dreams were coming true. So if we just begin with that conversation, how are these trends changing? What exactly has changed? Is it a shift in the mentality of the society? Is it the kind of infrastructure and the opportunities they are receiving now within India that is helping them to realize this dream?
I think all of what you said has contributed to this mind shift. In the last decade, if you see, sports has become a phenomena in India. And it's the shift, what you see is not just in a particular sport. Like in our times, it was just, Usha, Shiny, myself in just athletics. You really didn't hear many women athletes doing well in the late 80s. And today you see a cross discipline, including para. The mind shift has changed. I personally feel that in the last decade, we've not seen the kind of encouragement, the kind of platform that has been provided for every single athlete of the Indian team by the government of India. And I think when the head of a country is very passionate about sport and has that direct link or connect with every athlete, whether it's just the gold or not winning a medal, but that connect and that kind of encouragement and a pat on the shoulder has worked enormously in everyone's favor, the athlete's favor, the family's favor, the people who manage sport. So the entire sports industry is growing in that term. As far as the Asian Games goes, and I think a standout performance of everyone who went into that, arena. What I have seen in the last couple of years is the mind shift of not just families, but of mind shift of athletes themselves. It's no longer trying to qualify like we did for an Olympic Games or trying to qualify for an Asian Games. It is going to win medals. I want to bring home a medal. So that shift from merely trying to make it to the Indian team to actually bringing home a medal has transformed Indian sport.
Right. So this revolution we are speaking of, in fact, I remember this Asian Games, the 100 medal, in fact, the performances were phenomenal across all the sports events that we took part in. But the 100th medal that our country won was the women's Kabbadi team.
Absolutely.
And that was a great moment for the country, I think. And from that particular perspective, as you just rightly mentioned, that it's not just one particular sport anymore. It is across different events in this particular field. And also another thing that we're seeing now is, earlier what used to happen is, in India, athletes or sportswomen used to come from a particular, there were several pockets in India they would come in from, several particular cities
Yeah,
they
I
would
think
come
in
in
our
from.
times it was the throwers
That
would
has
come from
changed.
Punjab and Haryana, and the sprinters would come from down south. You don't see
Right.
that happening anymore.
Anymore. They are from across the country and participating in several sports events. Is it also because there has been a change at the grassroots level, as well as the fact that their families now have been more supportive? It's no longer, sports is no longer just a hobby. It's actually a very serious profession that they see themselves taking part in.
I think what you saw during the COVID, where fitness and wellness became the norm, with governments driving, state governments driving the fitness regime, everybody posting out their fitness regime, being in a very closed environment, the importance of sport. Even at school, you had online classes, right? And you've never heard of online PE classes happening.
Right,
So
absolutely.
it kind of propelled, the entire focus on wellness and sport. And I think that generated a lot of interest. It also enhanced child's mobility, who would just normally would sit for an online class. It was something to do other than physics and chemistry, and families getting involved. And I think from then on, if you see, when athletes won medals, athletes coming from very, very humble backgrounds, even this time, if you see, Parul's run, if you see,
Yes.
Parul's run was very, very special for me. And I think that was a highlight because of the mind training that came into effect. Only
Right.
because she was so far away, we thought she would come second, but she came up and actually overtook from the left when everybody is, normally would come onto the right and overtake the runner. And she just took the first, the girl who was leading by surprise. So the kind of maturity, the kind of involvement and the presence of mind has really changed, and that you could see in every child. Even in para, it was amazing to see the archery. I don't know
yes.
what the Devi, who didn't have...
she didn't have her arm.
Sheetal Devi, I think.
Sheetal Devi.
Right?
Yeah.
Now, that only goes to show that it's just purely mind over matter. And then the desire to actually be on the podium, not just participate. The desire to
be there, to represent the country on that podium.
Yes, the podium finish has become the norm now. And I think that is what is driving the Indian sports, not just the athletes, the entire economy as such. So everybody has, it's just a growing economy. And I think we are ready to move on to bigger stages.
Definitely. Some of those performances, like you rightly mentioned, Parul Yaraji, she was brilliant. It was a phenomenal performance that we witnessed at the Asian Games. You also mentioned about this shift in mentality as well, in the kind where all sports events are being pushed forward. If we are to compare the times, last 10 to 12 years, what kind of a shift do you see? Is it because of the coaches as well? Is it a very grassroots shift that has taken place of mentality, wherein importance is given to all kinds of sports, and it's not just one particular, where we're like, fine, let's first get to a certain goal here, and then we'll see where the rest of us go. It's not just one focus on one of them.
What is the most important factor would be that there is a structure in sport to some extent, with the Khelo India Games, with the SGIF Games, with the Khelo India University Games. So there is a structure and there is great incentives for each of these structures. Okay. And because of that, you see a pool of athletes in all disciplines. That was never there, 10 years before or 8 years before. So the base strength, and I have always been saying this in the last 3 decades, unless we increase the base of our pyramids, champions will not emerge out of choice. It'll be only out of chance. And because we are, really the base of the pyramid we are looking at, that champions are emerging. It'll take 5 to 6 years, but we've already started that process. So I'm sure if that becomes, more vibrant, more inclusive, it will generate more number of champions for the, and it's just a cycle. It just goes on there. What's interesting in this is you see the pockets of Haryana, which we would think, so conventional, and they will not. I mean, if you meet in Haryana a wrestler or a boxer, it'll be amazing to talk to them. The kind of maturity, the kind of exposure that they would have never imagined. So it's, in a way, you're building capacity as well as providing them the platform to excel.
Absolutely. When we speak of a platform to excel, it is also important if we just get into the conversation with regards to preparation, what goes in behind the making of such icons who are now performing like this at such levels, at such platforms, international platforms for that matter. If we just look at the kind of coaches that are available, the conditioning that is provided to these athletes today, there's a lot that goes into becoming an athlete, especially for women who have a lot of their preparation is to do with their physique as well, maintaining that physique, especially with hormonal changes and everything. So do we see a change in the kind of preparations that coaches also provide? Do we like the trends of having personal trainers or nutritionists who take care of each and every athlete, give each and every athlete that kind of attention that they need? Do we see a shift there as well?
We do, but I'd be happier to see more number of Indian coaches coming in par with the foreign coaches. We talk Make in India. I would like to see that developing. It's already in the process, but I hope to see more of it. Way back in the 80s when we were running it, there was no support system. The support system was our family and a coach. Okay, nobody knew who a physiotherapist was, who was a mind trainer. We didn't have any of those, no diet. We just ate what we got, and we were lucky to have 3 meals a day. So most of us came out from that kind of background. Today, you have the entire cycle of life of a sports person being taken care of.
But is it true for all the athletes who are coming from very humble backgrounds, those who are coming from families who probably cannot afford that kind of facilities as well?
Yes, I think if you see the Khelo India school games, the Khelo India games or the SGIF, if they make it, I mean, you've got to come to a certain level. Unfortunately, you have to come to a certain level to be noticed. Like I run an academy. I'm in Coog right now in my academy where I look at only grassroots. So today, one of my players are in the Junior India hockey team. They're playing in Malaysia. Kuana is one of the star players of the Indian junior hockey team. I have, just yesterday we won about 28 national medals in the school games of the ICAC game. So we're looking at under 16, under 17, and then put them into different work. But it's very difficult for me as as someone who's running an academy at the base to have that kind of funding, especially because I'm a rural area. Most of us who are in a rural, because you don't have that kind of visibility. So I think until you get recognized, it's a struggle. And that's where we lose the battle. Families lose the battle of, athletes get demotivated. So unless that is taken care of, that base, providing small incentives, like in our academy, if I want my child to, my athletes to be doing well, all these kids, they're on a scholarship. I provide free training to them.
Right.
So unless you kind of give them that encouragement, which may not happen in all the cases. So you lose a whole pool of these athletes.
Right. So do you think these developmental policies, it's needed more at a state or a central level as well, instead of just foundations coming up like your academy is doing it? Do you think there are more such academies that should come up that should help facilitate such athletes, or should it be policies that should be made at the state or the central level to help such infrastructures built around for these athletes?
There is, there are policies, but how far it's implemented, it's a big struggle to get it implemented, especially at the state and district level. So for me, if I have to say, it's rather difficult. So you can imagine a sports person who's not that important and creates an academy.
Right.
The kind of struggle that one has to go through to get permissions. I didn't have to worry because I bought the entire land. My husband and I bought the entire land, and we just did it because it's something that we wanted to do it. And then, of course, the government will come in and all that. But it's still a struggle for all these academies. I believe the more academies that come in, or more schools that focuses on one or two sports professionally, you will see this growing larger than life.
Right.
And that's the kind, because today the support system, whether it is OGQ or all these platforms are there where they absorb these young kids and nurture them for specific needs. And then in overall umbrella, you have the central government, from the top schemes to Khelo India, medal winners for 5 years, incentives to take you forward, but it has to be result oriented. So there is pathway once you are there on top.
Right. We will circle back to what more can be done to help facilitate athletes. But right now, I will just shift tracks to this other subject that is also a big part of sportsmanship, the sports family that India has now. It's a growing family now, especially with so many athletes coming up from across the nation. The interpersonal relations amongst athletes. Earlier, there were fewer people who were involved in this field, fewer athletes who were a part of this particular field. But now, since competition is on the rise, is what kind of in fact, the fact that you are leading an academy, you're looking after an academy, what kind of a temperament do you see? Is there more of a competitive pulse that you feel that is there amidst that family, or is it more of a supportive and encouraging environment that you find where everybody is out there to push each other so that they all can go forward as one big family?
Well, in our own families, not everybody has the same mindset, right?
Definitely. I mean,
all 5 fingers are
on the field absolutely there, but behind the scenes, in the dressing rooms,
it's how you manage each one's this thing, but bringing them under a umbrella of saying these are the norms that one follow. Even when I beat my sister, I remember in the 200 meters, she didn't speak to me for a couple of months. So on field, everybody is a fierce competitor. And I believe some amount of competition is just, since we've just concluded the national ICC meet, I was there and 2 of my boys who ran the 1500 and 800, they trained together, Swayam and Dweep, but they're the fiercest competition they have, even in training. But they're great friends outside of the track. So they both won. One won the gold, Dweep won the gold, and Swayam won the silver. It's not the case all the time. It's not the case. So even in the Indian circuit, if you see, you will definitely have those kind of, ups and downs. But I think...
But is it more because of more competition coming in now?
Definitely, because the stakes are so high.
Everybody wants that medal.
Absolutely.
Right.
So, the stakes are high. It's not just about the money that they get, but the recognition that they get. So definitely the competition, it's very, very fierce. It's very fierce.
Right. If we speak of interpersonal relations, there's also another controversy, in fact, that had recently come out, and it got highlighted during the Asian Games this time. It was Swapna Burman's comment.
That was very unfortunate.
Right. That was very unfortunate. But now that we have seen that there is another community that has been coming to the light, they have been fighting and they have been struggling for so long, the QIA plus community, and now they're getting the much needed representation across fields, and sports is also another such field that's accepted them. So when Nandini Agasara had won that bronze medal and Swapna Burman came out and made that comment, do you think this is also a growing mentality that might pose a challenge to the sports fraternity in general, where women might have more such comments might come out from women athletes where they are like, we are having to compete with trans women and it is not fair at one particular point?
It will come out in the open more, but it will die down. Because
how do you see
why I say this is because the rules are made by the Olympic Committee, and you've got to follow that rules. Whether it's the levels of hormones that they mandate that you can have in one particular category, to everything revolves around the rules that are laid down. And that is applicable not just to Swapna or to anybody, but to the entire sporting fraternity. Okay.
Right.
This kind of rivalry, I was not at all happy about it, because the rule allowed her to do it, allowed her to participate. And for a fellow athlete who didn't win a medal, to lose out on a medal and then complain was wrong.
Right.
Right?
Right.
In fact,
so in terms of training, since you also have an academy, and when you are speaking to your students, when you are speaking to the youth today, what would you do differently so that such circumstances don't arise? They know how to handle these situations. They grow up with a mentality where they don't even have to question these questions don't arise at this particular level.
You can only, today you see every social media, every issue, whether it's the LGBT, whether it is, everybody's aware of it. Young children are aware of it. It's all there. But I think a conscious talk every now and then in terms of handling these issues, because I feel that today's young children are fearful of failure.
Right.
They don't consider it, whether it is in academics, sports, music, whatever field you see, and you see, at a drop of a hat, somebody's committing suicide, young children committing, if you don't give them their mobile phone, they commit suicide. I mean, the environment has been created in such a way that they all have been fed by this thing that everybody has a mental issue. This mental wellness is become such an issue. We never knew about it. We had to struggle. You got to work. You can't scold somebody. You can't do anything. Let them grow up like how we all grew up. Because we are in the process, we are not making them strong.
Right.
We are not making them strong. I mean, our teachers would give us a whack if we even, stood. But we took it in good stride. Today, even if a parent calls a child, it becomes a big issue. So the entire ecosystem of a growing child has changed.
Right. So, but when we speak of mental
issues like this come,
as well,
and when they're on the field, I think this kind of conversations must be had more often. How you handle these at every level. And it should be at regular intervals. It's not just about this issue, but it's also about age frauds, where, you have all these kinds of categories, especially with young children, because it's very easy, they get demotivated with so much of distractions around them.
Exposure is so high now.
Yes.
Right. So, but when we speak of coaching, do you think mental wellness is also a very important parameter today that is considered and it should be focused on as well?
Very much. For me, I think what's important is to have every child, every athlete who's competing to go through mental training.
Right.
Because ultimately, you may train equally hard 365 days, but the winner is the one who has that edge, who is stronger mentally, who has actually. So when I came through a mind trainer way back in my training before I beat Usha in the 87, 88, he came to the ground, Dr. Rupan Das, and I said, would you like to go through a session of mind training? And I was like, it was so new to me, in those days you never heard of mind training. But I was willing to take that risk. And I said, sure, why not? And that actually did a world of difference, because my focus was never on Usha, but on my target that I set for myself. And through visualization. And I think that's come into the Indian circuit, where you see more focused kind of performances. It's not that who's standing next to you, but your target is in front of you.
Right. The target is more important.
Absolutely.
At this point, right? Well, coming back to what more could be done, as we were having that conversation earlier, you mentioned about how you would want to see more Indian coaches. Do you also think you would, what is your opinion on having more female coaches out there as well? Because do you think that might also be a criteria that motivates more women to come out and participate in this field?
There is so much of room for former athletes, or students who want to take up coaching, who've played a certain level of sport. Now, if you take the school curriculum itself by far, how many PE teachers actually have a program in place?
Right.
If you look at a cluster and you take the number of PE teachers in that, they really don't know what to do other than a march past or some kind of a drill. And that happens just before a sports day.
Right.
But a 365 days program, which is then followed up by an evaluation of every child and to see where the child is at the end of the academic year. Most often, that as well, that when a physics teacher is not there, the PE teacher minds the class. Basically, it's for discipline. Right?
Absolutely right.
When you take, like I did a survey, and I was part of the Knowledge Commission in Karnataka, and to bring out this issue on how to develop sports, and Kasturi Rangan was the chairman at that point in time when we did this. It took us about 6 months. And then I said, no, let's start with the primary school. We have state schools. And they probably give, in their fee, total fee, there is a certain amount that goes to sport. It may be 5 or 7 rupees in state government schools. In colleges, depending on the college, it may be from 250 rupees to 500 rupees. So I said, where is all the money? If you're collecting that large number,
there should be a money. There should be a sum that's been collected.
Yeah. And if there is money, what is the program? And to my shock, I got a response that they've kept it in FD. Okay? How many schools are waiting to get a PE teacher? I'm just saying, if you really want to have a robust thing, you've got to start from there. Colleges, when they take 250 to 500, how many colleges or how many schools have a playground? How many colleges really promote sport? And where is that 250 rupees or 500 rupees going towards? They're building another infrastructure, another classroom, another building. So unless sports is treated as a subject, whether it is in the science stream, commerce stream, arts stream, whatever, sports is such a growing industry, from sports entertainment, sports business, sports sciences, you can integrate it.
Right.
And then you will see the number of children that come into it.
Right.
Absolutely. So it has to be looked at from that angle, and not merely where are the coaches coming from. If you don't have that, you can't just have a MPEd, BPEd, course and ask them to be there. You have to learn that process, be part of that in college, get interested and take that line.
Right.
And that's when you will see a whole lot of change when PE becomes a focus and mandated thing in schools.
Right. So the change is needed at the grassroots level.
Absolutely.
That mentality shift is needed at the grassroots level. Well, with that, I would like to ask you my final question today. We are approaching the Paris Olympics 2024. Who do you have your hopes pinned on, and what all are you expecting from it? Like, what is the big spectacle that you're waiting for, and how many medals are we expecting this time? Are we breaking another record?
No, I never give a number to it. People would say 100, but we would get more than that. And, if you give a number and then you don't achieve it, I am looking at not just medals, but I think some stunning performances by a few of our very special athletes, like Parul,
Right.
Sable, Neeraj, of course, is already a big name.
Neeraj is a star now.
But we have Jenna. You have a lot of them coming in athletics. Hockey is doing well.
Right.
Women's hockey is also doing well. So archery, I think this time's a little, the wrestlers didn't perform because of the environment that they had. But I think we will see many young girls shooting doing well. Dressage, we never even imagined that we would get it in equestrian, so there will be surprises, but as medal, there'll be, I think, better than the previous Olympics. I won't give a number to it.
We are looking forward to another record, though.
Yes, we should. I mean, that's the trend. You see the trajectory of our, performances.
Absolutely.
Leading up to that.
It's been a positive
Very
line.
positive. So we are leading up to that. And I think it should be by far the best Olympics that we will have.
Right, absolutely. And with India now playing such a big role with the IOC meet as well, which was held in Mumbai, and now cricket has also been, though it's men's cricket, but cricket has been included in Olympics as well. And I mean, India is definitely emerging out to be a role model to the world in sports as well. And women have been leading that. That was very much evident with the predominant presence of women in the medal tally for Asian Games. And as Ashwini ji mentioned as well, we are looking forward to a similar result in the Paris Olympics 2024. And it was lovely having this conversation with you, Ashwini ji. Thank you so much for joining us here at CNN News 18.